for the tools for emergent strategies. So anyways, it's been a big inspiration to me. And I kind of went off a little bit more there just because I am going to have to leave soon. But it's been an amazing book. And I think that if we all try to implement it more into our work, we'd see some amazing change. So Andrew, what are your thoughts and your connections?
Yeah, so my name is Andrew, and I am basically here because of Lorraine. She flagged this book to me, and I started reading it. I'm not fully transparent. I'm only 108 pages in, but I've been writing and marking down a lot of the text. So excited to talk about it. And I just think that a lot of what's in the book is like really applicable to just any asset of life, any aspect of life. So yeah, I'll pass it to David.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know. I picked it up probably a year and a half ago or something like that. And it kind of converged with learning about Octavia Butler, because who had never heard of. And then there was also like this Facebook group on emergent strategy and Octavia Butler. And I think the book must have got recommended in there. So then I kind of picked up this for a little while and didn't quite finish it, but then I started reading Octavia Butler books that I enjoyed a whole bunch. And I just felt like there were a ton of insights. And I feel like it echoes a lot of what the intention is for the GRC. So I've been trying to kind of plumb it for how do you think of these distributed peer-to-peer support kind of initiatives. So I found it pretty wise, and I definitely highlighted a bunch of stuff. And things will show up in future conversations and writings, I think. Richard, I'll pass to you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So, good. So I'm mainly here to listen and learn. My own work is on my website, livingartswisdom.com. I've been following Adrienne Maree Brown's work for quite a while. Pleasure activism. I haven't read Emergent Strategies yet, but I've been following her on social media, pleasure activism, some of her writings, and her work with generative somatics, which connects with my own work with biopsychosocial regeneration. And I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say. So I will pass this to Bruce.
Good morning. What brings me, I haven't read the book, what brings me to this conversation, this exploration, is the word emergent. That has been beckoning to me. And I've seen there's something magical about emergence. There's something that is very, very powerful, and like with the notion of tipping points, with the notion of transformation, with the notion of how change takes a long time to happen, and then all of a sudden it happens, abruptly. There's something that happens, something that occurs, something that emerges in the society. And the question is, how do we foster that? How do we cultivate that? And that's what brought me today. And I'll choose, let's see, Brian. I think he hasn't spoken.
Yes, that's right. Hi, I'm Brian von Herzen, from the Climate Foundation. With our work in the marine environments, we do a lot of ecosystem biomimicry, regenerating kelp forests, coral reefs, and other environments and ecosystems. I'm new to this book. I'm wondering if it'll be my next read, and so I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. And David, I can't see the list of participants on my phone, so if you could suggest someone else, that'd be great.
How about Carol?
Hi, I'm Carol Steinfeld I'm south of San Francisco. I have not finished this book. I had it out of the library and it was recommended to me at our local eco bookstore. And I was interested in it because I'm involved in some groups, from Sierra Club Water Committee to the Unitarian Unitarian Church, Unitarian Universalist Church groups, and then my local environmental groups. And somehow I feel that the hyper-individualism trend and the anti-structure trend is kind of taking us down. It's not allowing us to create these group efforts that are bringing about the results we want, or I'm not sure if that's what it is. So I'm always looking for models of group process and other angles on that. So I'm hoping to find out from you whether you think that this book delivered that. So thanks for organizing this. Oh, sorry. Tori?
Hi guys, good morning. I feel like Maree and what is her Adrienne Maree Brown, thank you, I'm getting it right. She's just been popping up everywhere for me. So it's so funny. It's just felt so serendipitous that you guys were hosting a book club around emergent strategy. I had a friend recommend Pleasure Activism. And then I haven't had time to start any of her books yet, but I'm very excited to. And instead, I just went on a deep dive on a few of the podcasts that she's been featured on, as well as some podcasts that she's hosted. So I feel like I have a decent grip on her work, but not in particular focus on like what she's put out in the structure of the book. And I've been moderating a fair amount of conversations in a community that I help run. Or like partner with to run, and she's coming out with a new book in the end of May. I think it's May 24th, called Holding Change, which is a part of this Emergent Strategy series. And it's all about the way of emergent strategy facilitation and mediation. So I'm trying to get through her Emergent Strategy series and Pleasure Activism before end of May so that I can arrive and be ready and for her new book. And I came a little bit late. I don't know if anyone hasn't gone yet. I think since I've been here, it looks like Katrina hasn't gone. Katrina, I don't know if you're left or if you went before I started.
Katrina, Katie, have you gone? Pass it to Katie.
Awesome. Well, thank you for holding this call and being here. And I love the honesty of it's like every book club has to have the non-readers. So I loved the challenge of getting this book read. It's been a book that I've had for about 1.5 years. And it's been like, I started it and it was so good. I had to like slow down and put it down. And then when David's like, well, let's do a book club. I was like, okay, sounds good. Because it'll give me every excuse in the book, no pun intended, to finish this thing. And I literally finished it yesterday while I was resting after the day 2 vaccine experience. And I'm like blown away by how much wisdom and depth and passion and commitment Adrienne Maree Brown brings into this work. I think oftentimes when we talk about emergence and complexity and natural living systems, that like we can really complicate the language around it. And I feel like she's really kind of stripped it all down to just its bare bones essence and got it to like place of being able to have it clearly shareable, readable, digestible, understandable, applicable, tangible, all those good things. And the fact that she also has another book that that's called We Will Not Cancel Us in her whole Emergent Strategies series is another one that I wanted to lift up, because I think the part that gets me excited about this work is that she holds the living systems world and transformative justice, which my feet are on the ground here in Minnesota, where like we are a hotbed of the potential for collective healing, justice, liberation, reconciliation. But we have a lot of work to do. And so for me, it's her work is alive and in the field here. There's a lot of conversations happening around it, even within government systems, which gets me excited. Government can learn how to be more like this. It would be amazing. So I'm here to just kind of, I'm only able to be here for a little bit because I have another call that I don't have control over my schedule. So, but I'm super excited that there's this much interest. And for those of you who are here because you felt drawn here and haven't gotten a chance to read it, like I feel like if we created a regular rhythm of connection around this shared learning of this work, that it'll give you a chance to take it on and read a bit together as we do this. So I'm not sure who hasn't gone yet. I think everybody. Am I missing anyone? Not that I can see. All right. So for those of you that had a chance to read a little bit of this or some of this, oh, and I'm seeing Andrew put something in the chat. Pace and process of change around page 100. It seems like a good spot to start. Andrew, I pass it to you.
Yeah, so I was just getting through this part and kind of like it's been popping up in a lot of different areas that I've been reading, and so I actually just got it's kind of funny, but I got a Winnie the Pooh, A Walk Through the Woods book, and it's about like how to practice mindfulness and meditation, and it's a story told through like a day in the life of Winnie the Pooh. And so when I was reading this part of the book, I was thinking about like all the similarities and the different topics that keep popping up. So she talks a lot about emotion and how we like, and she talks about emotional growth is not linear, and how to deal with anger, how to deal with frustration, how to deal with all those different things, and trying to like really come to terms with the fact that you have to just acknowledge the emotion that you're feeling in the moment. And I just think if anybody stays up to date in the political world or any world that has to do with climate change, you probably feel anger or emotions similar to that at many points in your life. So I was just wondering how other people deal with this, and yeah, some takeaways from this part.
One thing I could share is that I've been over recent decades really seeking to make the biggest impact. It's like what's my compass is the next thing is going to be the next bigger opportunity to make a larger impact in the world. And what I find is that I need to balance that with, it's like, it's the old proverb, you know, of think globally and act locally. And I need to keep my feet on the ground. Otherwise I get too far out into the stratosphere of ideas and I don't get much traction. So the question I have is, in terms of emergence is a property of ecosystems where something that wasn't possible suddenly becomes possible, and where it didn't look like that was going to happen, suddenly there's this pull for it to happen. It's almost like a gravitational force. And the question is, how do you turn that on? How do you get that to begin to happen? And that's about as stratospheric as you can get. And so how do you remain grounded and still deal with, you know, be a member of a group, at the same time look to see how to have a movement form from multiple groups across the country or across the world, and balancing those two things. A friend of mine is a big expert in balance. He doesn't talk much about it. I keep talking to him, trying to get him to tell me what he means by balance, because he's always talking about balance. I think there's some secret in this notion of balance that I haven't learned it yet. There's a random thought for you.
Yeah. Just to play off the random thoughts of balance, a friend from the Buckminster Fuller Institute talks about like balance. You're constantly kind of in struggle to be there. It's just this. But what was he saying? Yeah, dynamic equilibrium is, I think, the term. And yeah, Dave put equilibrium in there, but
Yeah.
or equanimity. But you know, the way the universe works is more about like this tension, like a pulling and a pushing kind of continuously. And I in that dynamic equilibrium of tensions. And I think that this book kind of talks about that too. And that there is so much tensions in our society and everything. And so how do we almost kind of use that to our advantage and almost like Aikido it, you know? And so whatever the major stresses, I mean, a lot of this book deals more with racism and social issues, but it also does talk a lot about regenerative efforts and different things. And some of the groups she's mentioned, I've worked with myself, or I greatly admire. But that's it, is kind of seeing, okay, what is the shadow side that we're trying to deal with and overcome and have the greatest impact, like you're saying, Bruce. But learning to work with it. So I don't know. That's just some more random thoughts.
I'll weigh in as well. Just Andrew, your question sparks for me one of the reasons why I appreciated this book so much, which is I don't know that she gives a direct answer to, you know, how to manage the pace of change, or she gives many answers. But one of the things I took away was this kind of permission to accept and lean into whatever pace is happening. And I think that touches on the emotional part. Like, it's hard sometimes not to feel angry or sad or irritated, or, you know, like not the most positive feelings, certainly about climate, and then also the social justice piece. And I would say in some ways, I feel like this book is about social justice, but in other ways, I feel like that's the conversation around climate. Like, she really helped me see the very direct connection between how we treat each other as individuals and groups of humans within the living universe that we find ourselves. And so that's the climate conversation outside of that, but it's very nested. And I felt in a number of places throughout the book, there was this kind of, you might find yourself wanting, or it may be frustrating, or I remember this story where like things seem to be going off the rails or not going in the direction that she was hoping. And then in the end, realizing actually that's exactly what needed to happen, and it turned into the right thing. So I feel like any pace is the right pace. And maybe just the last sort of personal analogy I borrow for that is so I do a lot of long distance running, and I've been a distance runner for quite a long time now. And I've done different kinds of races, and I've trained a lot, and I've trained a little, and I've done different things. And one of the things that always surprises me from distance running is that you can really improve your performance in the really long distances by doing short speed work. And so a lot of distance runners, or a lot of people who think about distance running, just think, oh, you just run for a long time. And that's kind of true. And that may be all you want to do, and that's fine. But if you want to hone your skills, you can actually do short bursts of speed in different ways. And there's lots of different techniques. And her work reminded me of that. It's like, this is the longer game we're playing, but there are shorter pieces to do it, and there's no right or wrong, and we're all kind of on this learning journey. So I don't know if that makes it blurrier or not, but that's how I took her pace of change permission.
I have to step off in about a minute, which I'm really sad about, because I wish I had more time to be in this conversation with you all. I think the part for me that I continue to try and lift up in different spaces and places where I'm talking with folks about regenerative practice, and we're exploring what does that mean in the spaces and places that we bring that practice. And I keep finding like the patterns of like the patterns of oppression. Like we couldn't oppress if we hadn't been oppressed ourselves. We've learned it from somewhere. And so like even as a white, like cisgendered person in Minnesota, my role and responsibility as a regenerative practitioner is to ensure that I'm cultivating a field of caring that dismantles those patterns within me, and creates space for more voices and perspectives to show up. And I want to just kind of leave with that little like seed of a thought as this conversation continues to grow and evolve. And I hope that we can come together again to explore this book a little bit further, some more, give people a chance to read through this a bit. But I don't want to lose sight of the fact that I feel like for myself and my practice as a regenerative practitioner, transformative justice is like a root in that. And that's what I will sign off with.
Katie,
Thank
thank
you all.
you. I'll post the link too. Yeah. Bye, Hannah.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, one of the things I highlighted, Andrew, that's kind of, I think maybe in that same section or close to it, it was this notion of the role of critique. And you know, it's like we're trying to do stuff that's pretty new, and it's pretty easy to get tripped by somebody trying to, you know, critique it. And so I was kind of like reassured a little bit about this idea that, you know, it isn't necessarily our job to point out what's wrong with new approaches, kind of. And, you know, like I do think I have a tendency to be kind of try to be the smartest guy in the room and, like, you know, point out all the flaws. And like, well, maybe that's not the most helpful thing.
I think actually a real life practice where I've seen that is learning a new language. It's super kind of like the fear of failing prevents you sometimes from like speaking, like reading and writing it can be easier, but it's that dialogue with others where you're like, I'm not going to be quick enough or able to kind of show up in that way. So definitely a good practice there if you're learning a new language. And then also I see this among just like non-BIPOC allies as well, kind of that fear of showing up and knowing the right words and kind of like creating space to like not be perfect about it and move forward just in that ability to like know that you're not going to show up in the best way all the time, but that like the strive and the absence of the critique and kind of that general agreement can be really helpful.
I love that analogy of language because it reminds me that there's a conscious thing you can say, like, you know, just go for it, or yeah, it's okay to have an accent or make grammatical mistakes or whatever. But then there's also, I find as somebody who speaks a few languages and who's bumbled around and made some terrible linguistic messes, it's like a kind of confidence that it's hard to codify, but is worth leaning into. And Tori, I just really, really love that analogy because I feel like in many ways that's what she's saying in lots of parts of the book. Is it's like there's kind of a way, there's some tools, there's some practices, there's some guidance, but it's also just like you just got to do it. You know, you just have to try, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have an accent. Your grammar is going to be messy. But you're going to communicate, and you're going to get your ideas across, and you're going to get better and better as you practice and immerse yourself in it. So yeah, that's such a powerful analogy. Thank you for that.
Thanks for taking it home. That was gorgeous how you just said that.
Another dimension to add to that is that here I am, having not read the book, and I'm interested in the word in the title. And I'm interested in this group. It's not like a randomly chosen group. You know, where this group is coming from is a wonderful place. And I had a hunch about that. And I had a hunch about the book from the word in the title. And it wasn't that I thought that that's exactly what the book was about necessarily, but that I would jump in to the swimming pool and swim around with you folks and play. And in that spirit, you know, what I bring is a curiosity and a listening, and an interest to learn. And in many respects, even though I haven't read the book and all those other reasons, and that I'm not qualified to be here, somebody might say, despite those reasons why I'm not qualified to be here, when I bring that spirit, you know, we can, you know, splash around in the pool together and have fun. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm just here to learn something, whatever that might be. I don't know.
Yeah, it was another quote in the book that I liked around the role of the organizers. I stuck it in the chat, but because we've been kind of riffing off this notion of the GRC as being soil, but we're, you know, like the idea of being an earthworm, you know, I'm not sure you have to have read the book to be an earthworm.
I just wanted to say, well, first, that was awesome, everybody's input. Lorraine, when you mentioned the long distance running and kind of training with short what was it? Short speed work. I was thinking about, because like when I wrestled for 7 years, and one thing that like was one of the most helpful practices was just jump roping, and it's because of that little short like up and down on your feet, and it ends up making like your game so much better when you're on a mat, which I kind of related to that. And yeah, and I think like what David kind of pointed to, and then what Bruce wrote, Angel's Advocate versus Devil's Advocate, or Angel's Advocate and versus Devil's Advocate. I thought that was really powerful, and it brings me to like a line I underlined, which was, once I've survived an emotion that has, she talks a lot about emotions and coming to terms with your emotions. And she says, once I've survived an emotion that has reached across time to demand my attention, I feel so resilient. And this comes up, I recently finished the book Dune, which I highly recommend to anybody who hasn't read it. I know, Lorraine, I've been pushing you to read this one. The whole book is all about how like, it's crazy about like all emotions, like how do you channel your inner emotions, and how do you come to terms with anger? How do you come to terms with what you're feeling, and how do you kind of use that to your advantage? So I was just wondering, does anybody have any stories about, in the work that you've done over the past years, like any instances where you've kind of had to like channel or have been aware of channeling your inner emotion and somehow balancing it to make the outcome better than what you initially expected?
It's kind of interesting that you asked that. I recently came across kind of this line of thought that oftentimes we're thinking through problems, or that's our initial knee-jerk reaction, is to move into it and really want to like think it through, like live in our heads. And kind of the beauty of what you're touching on is like feeling through problems. And then also, I think kind of a prerequisite to that is just getting keen and kind of sharp on even recognizing and becoming aware of feelings. Like, I think there's a lot of practice in that sense too. I'm reading this book right now by Erica Chidi. She's actually a doula, but she's an amazing book, and she advocates for just like women's reproductive health and things. And in the beginning of this book, she talks about like a POP method. So it's like pause, onboard a feeling, and then proceed with awareness. And she has like a feelings wheel that she kind of utilizes. So maybe I'll find that on the internet and share it here. But I think I'm still, in a lot of ways, sometimes I'm like further on the spectrum of, yeah, like applying that and actually getting to like see it in action as I tackle a problem at work or in a relationship. But I think more of the time I'm still practicing just like becoming aware of those little gut flinch moments where I'm in conversation and I realize like, oh, something's really actually happening here, you know? Yeah. And I think it's kind of cool to live on both sides at once. Like there's oftentimes this feeling that, you know, we have to be really good at one aspect of that before we can like advance onto the next, and just like living in that tension of like having one foot in each square at different times.
Yeah, gosh, Andrew, I'm going to try to answer your question, and I'm going to share also my favorite quote, and then I'm gonna have to jump to, I have to prep for the next adventure. I'm not coming up with a specific instance. I can probably think of a few, but none appropriate to share here. But something I've learned recently doing a lot of work around this type of thing is the difference between feeling and assuming. And at first I was kind of like, what? Those are totally different things. Why are we even talking about that? But for example, I might have said, just making something up, like I might have said, like, I'm feeling really neglected about this, you know, or by this person or this team or whatever. I'm feeling abandoned in this situation. It's like, well, neglected assumes that some people had some duties to look after me and they didn't do it. Or abandoned assumes that there were some people who were with me and then they just wandered off. It's actually not a feeling. It's a statement about what some other people did or what I believe other people did. The feeling, if I think I'm feeling neglected, might be I feel alone, or I feel sad, or angry, or, you know, there's a big difference between saying I feel sad and I feel neglected. And even just being able to identify, what am I actually feeling? Not what do I think happened or what do I think those other people did, has been a massive wave of personal empowerment. And by the way, it's come through doing some work with Jeff Barnum, who some of you might know through the GRC. He hosts school through Magenta Studios, and I'm a student in the school, and I'm finding it very, very empowering. So I just offer that little nugget, like even just figuring out what the feeling is and what the feeling is, not the assumption about all the circumstances and the stupid things that are happening that are making me feel, you know, no, what am I actually feeling? That has been, you know, I just turned 50 and I just figured that out. I'm gonna read a brief paragraph because for me, this one on 133 sums up what made my heart kind of vibrate so much. I really wanted to connect with people on this. I will admit here that even some of my closest loved ones find me naive for holding a vision of a humanity with no enemies. I can imagine it though. And in fact, it seems like the only viable long-term solution. We need to transform all of the energy we currently put into war and punishment into creating solutions for how to continue on this planet. The time, the energy, the money. We actually have all of that in abundance. What we lack is will. What we put our attention on grows. That kind of summed it up for me, is why I'm here and why I walk around going.
I gotta say, that summed it up for me. Wow, well said. Thank you. I think that is such a powerful thing for everyone to recognize, especially with all of the activities and the cancel culture and things that are going on, when people can recognize their own emotions that is separate from the assumptions being made. And, you know, it goes with one of my favorite sayings, which is seek to understand. And so, you know, the whole piece is to seek to see what's going on for that other person that you just made an assumption about, that, you know, perhaps you're feeling abandoned or neglected. Maybe they have a major thing going on with their family, or who knows what it might be. But that is something that I really value and appreciate. And I'm going to share a link here in the chat to the Johari window. Has anybody here heard of the Johari window? See Bruce? I can't see. Okay, well, I'm going to put in the Johari window. And it's a really great tool that I think goes well with what you were just talking about, Lorraine. And the Johari window is where we can really identify our blind spots. And so that is something of, like, it's kind of 4 different areas. One is what we know about ourselves. And then the other window is what other people see and know about us. And then we have a shared area, which is like what we understand about ourselves and other people understand about us. And so that's a shared definition. And then there's this other window, which is our blind spots, what we don't see and what other people do see. And so that is a realm for where assumption can kind of play out, as well as like, can go back and forth. And so it's just something to, again, bring it back to seek to understand of, you know, what are the blind spots that I'm not seeing here? Why are people feeling neglected because I'm not showing up, or vice versa? What can I learn from this situation that perhaps I'm assuming something that the reality is vastly different. It's because that person had something, a crisis came up or something. So I think it's really important we all like kind of dive a little deeper to seek to understand what's going on for others, as well as identify places we can grow with our own blind spots.
Just to
So I'm in the
share-
process.
Go ahead.
I'm in the process of learning more about deep empathy, and seeking to understand seems to be central to this. I'm presently reading an interesting book called The Empathy Diaries, and I'm considering experiments in online empathy that can increase our ability to connect. But this idea of understanding ourselves very centrally and at the core, and then being in a open state to really understand and enable and increase the ability to seek to understand is are key aspects of this. And I'm looking forward to learning a lot more about how empathy and seeking to understand can be closely related, and best practices in this area online and in real life.
I'd just like to add to what Brian was saying, and some of the other comments before that, that a key distinction that I learned some years ago is to distinguish between what happened and the story that we tell ourselves about what happened. And when we conflate those two things, we remove ourselves from reality, and we live in some made up story about reality, and we don't know it's a story. So recognizing the difference between what happened, like what would a you know a TV camera looking at what we observed see, rather than all the stuff that we can tell ourselves about what we think happened or what we interpreted. It's the interpretive process. And you know, to distinguish between those, it's not that the interpretive process isn't useful, but when you mix them up and begin to believe your own story about it, and think that they really think, and begin to think that how we think they think is how they're really thinking, it gets us into quicksand very quickly.
That makes me think about Steve. I read a book on Jobs a while ago, and I remember Steve Jobs, and I remember they called it like the reality distortion field that he had or something. Like a lot of his colleagues would use this term about how he would like convince them to believe something that's not possible, or that is probably unlikely in reality. So I guess that's almost like a way where you can actually use that distortion for good, almost, because I mean, if you don't have those people that like can literally live in a fantasy world in their own head of what's possible, then it's hard to move into those new worlds.
Interesting.
A working theory that I've been developing since grad school was, you know, how to look at how bioremediation works. And so looking at that, similar to what Dave is just posting the comments here, we're on point, is especially with mycoremediation, how mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, can break down toxic situations, toxic oil. And so how that works scientifically is the mushrooms shoot out an enzyme outside of itself that go then and break down the compounds within the toxic oil. It's based on carbons, molecules. So anyways, I'm not going to get into the whole hydrocarbon breakdown, but the main piece that we can mimic as humans is looking at a situation objectively by, kind of stepping out from the situation instead of being so up in the toxic mess, but stepping out kind of like the enzyme and looking at it from afar, a different perspective, and how we can kind of break things down by creating that understanding, that shared understanding of hearing what the other person's perspective is, what the, solutions can be by collectively coming up with that. And, again, it kind of goes back to what we've been discussing of like how we can learn and grow from a situation by, opening it up and getting, all perspectives of that Johari window, and being able to then say, oh, there it is, and speaking truth to the situation, because a lot of times people feel much better after they're able to say their piece and feel fully heard and listened to. And so it's a piece of then acknowledging what the other person said. And so that creates the trust. And that's kind of like what builds those hydrocarbons between us to then be able to find a workable solution out of the toxic mess. So, being objective, to Bruce's point of like kind of like stepping out and looking at it from a different perspective can really help. And so that's just another kind of, like I said, working theory that I've been developing since grad school. Maybe one day I'll write a book on it. But yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I especially around conversation, Katrina, and trying to understand people, via conversation. Like I've been, I kind of have to wrestle with my mechanical mind and like, kind of want to cut to the chase and solve the problem and move on to the next thing and things like that. And I know, like I've been watching Ben Roberts and like they're doing this Now What thing right now where there's like, I don't know, probably hundreds of events going on over the next 6 weeks that are mostly around their conversation and song and movement and, and I'm kind of like, what's this for? When are you going to get to the work kind of? And so I've been in conversations with Ben for a long time and I'm slowly grokking it, but still very slowly. But I did tag this line in the book about, oops, I got the wrong quote here, but the conversation is a crucial way to explore what we believe and to make new understandings and ideas possible. And it's like, I saved that one.
That reminds me of a quote I'm going to go grab right now. It's good stuff. I think by Stephen Covey.
Arlene, welcome. Do you have sound today?
I do. But I don't have my hair.
You're looking great. You're looking
Thank
good.
you. You too. Which part of the planet are you in, David? Because you're so mobile.
No, it's just in Oakland.
Katrina, I really enjoyed listening to you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Can't hear you. You're muted. And by the way, do you know John Zavalny in the Los Angeles? Do you know him?
Yes, he's my relative, and I was just talking to him yesterday. He's a delight. Yeah.
He's my buddy. He and I used to work for the same stupid organization.
Which one?
Los Angeles Unified School District.
Yes.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
I know. So those of you who don't know, John started a science center, and it was combined. He's a science teacher, and he was trying to make it as a sustainability center. They had a big organic farm, and it was just very difficult to work with the LA Unified School District. It's a heartbreak. But you know what's funny is that I'm going to be going and visiting him in just a couple of weeks, and teaming up with Anna Cummings, who is also starting a sustainability center. And it's my dream to start a sustainability center. And so I'm going to be going and talking to, you know,
And Anna Cummings is was formerly with Crossroads School, right?
Yeah, she was in the school realm. Then she started Five Geyers Institute.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you know, I'm gonna put my contact information in the chat box. Contact me and tell John hi for me. Okay, sorry guys, we had to have a moment there.
Yeah, no, that's such a great moment. Like, and we have so much to talk about. Oh my God.
We do. Okay, I'm gonna call me after this call. I'm gonna talk to you. I'm so glad.
Okay, well, I have a 10 o'clock, but you know,
I don't care. Call me sometime.
Girl, we are. Yes.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
Send me yours too, Katrina. Hey, Bruce, where are you? You look like you're on like in orbit.
I am in orbit. No, actually, I'm in Los Gatos, outside of San Jose. And I put this up because I kind of like it. What I'm trying to find is a video loop of the view of the Earth from a satellite as it goes around the Earth at night.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I haven't found such a thing yet that I can move into Zoom and use as my background. But that's what I want, because this one is too US centric.
True. Well, they do exist. I think we've seen them. That would be great.
Yeah, I just have to find it. But yeah, it would be great. I like it. That was my intent. So this is a trial balloon test, you know, just trying it, and gets me partway there. I'm in space.
Some people say that about me too. She's in space.
We've got about 4 minutes left in the official time. I don't know, Richard or Carol, you haven't said a whole lot. Do you have any kind of observations or comments?
I'm trying to learn more about what you guys took from it, and I'm getting a lot. And I'm thinking about the groups I've been in that have ultimately collapsed. And my big issue is the phenomenon of the tyranny of structurelessness. But at the same time, the whole ecosystem of change. So I'm going to finish reading the book. So I'm glad you guys are synthesizing it and hearing what you took from it.
I've really enjoyed picking up on the authenticity that you all have been communicating with. And it's something that isn't that easy to find in the world. And that's very valuable to me. I think that I got something of value from what everybody has said, particularly sparked for me personally from some of the things that Katrina shared. I found those inspiring and deep and insightful, but just about everybody said something that piqued my interest and made me feel that glow of authenticity that's so important. I didn't expect the degree of sensitivity and depth to creating relational regeneration, which is what I'm all about. And so that's pretty much what my own work and website is all about. So yeah, that felt good to hear.
Thanks a lot, Richard. Yeah, it's been definitely one of my lessons from this whole GRC experience. Like, again, I kind of wanted to go out and like promote regenerative farms and things like that. And then you watch what people really want to talk about or what the sessions are, and they're much more about inner regeneration and addressing trauma. And it's like I keep thinking, oh no, we got to go fix this stuff. But when you look at what people are actually doing, and this is something Katie Boone really highlighted in some of the sense making work that she did in the last couple of months, is this focus on kind of the internal first. Which, okay, we have to.
It's not always easy, but it is essential. there's a great saying that we say in the consulting world, especially, is you've got to slow down before you can speed up. So it's a good time to go in. I think that's one of the greatest lessons in time period of COVID. Quite honestly, it's been a really beautiful opportunity for that inner growth period.
And I want to express gratitude for GRC and the work of David Witzel and so many others. You guys have been amazing over this last year. The stuff you've pulled together, the wonderful people you've called into this Zoom circle. Thank you, David.
Well, thanks, Arlene. Actually, we're one more. I don't know if you've seen this. Maybe we haven't. It's not been shared all that much, but this is a map of that Carolina's been playing with in Kumu of the GRC network. I don't know if people can pull it up. And this one, I think the one I stuck in here, I think is centered on David Hodgson, of course, who founded it. But you can tell from the map that it isn't just any one of us, right? It's kind of all of us. And the referrals have been, you can see the pattern of referrals coming out, and it's very fun to see, you know, the hubs, the nodes that everybody is creating as they spread the network.
Oh, cool.
Sorry, where's the map in physical form? Is it a link?
I just stuck it in the chat, Brian. Have you got chat access?
I'll try that. Thank you.
Wow, that's really cool.
This is, I don't know if you when you filled in the membership form, you might have said who referred you. This is a map that connects the referrals.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Carolyn, I would love to talk more about the agency issue that you were talking about. So at some point, if you have time.
Ooh, David, I want this map. I want this map making tool so I can do maps. Where can I find that?
This is this is Kumu.io, and yeah, it's I think you can get a free access to it at just at Kumu.io. And then also,
okay, I'm sorry, K-U-M-U.
Yeah, I'll stick it in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Oh, Kumu, I see it. Kumu.io.
It's also, I'd also highlight to you, Hugo in the GRC has a tool called 7 Vortex that has some similar potential, and he's been really willing to work with people on ideas. So.
Well, I've got to go, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for holding this. And I would love to stay in touch. I put my contact info in the chat, my phone number and email. So feel free to connect and continue the conversation. Bye.
Thanks, Katrina.
Thank you, everybody, for being part of this and putting this on, David.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. It was fun. I was like, we may have to do another book club.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you, David. I'm going to go too.
Thanks, Arlene.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Thanks,
Richard, thanks for coming.
Bye. And then there were 3.
Thanks,
David,
Brian.
I'm curious. Yeah, is that mapping thing kind of a general, is it suitable as a mind mapper or just basically a way of rendering complex networks?
I don't know for sure about mind map. I mean, it is available. It's pretty mature. It's been around for a while now. There are a few people in the network who are like really talented with, you can like, load up a spreadsheet with data and map it. So it's got some nice features, and I don't think this way, so I never use it. And I always think of, it's like you got Mikulski with his brain mind map. That's what I think of as the mind map kind of tool, but that one's still pretty proprietary and a little closed. Kumu's a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, I ran into Jerry's brain a few years ago, so it's fun to be
he's
there.
Still working on it. If you're interested, he's got this open global mind thing that he's standing up, where he's trying to do how do you leverage that mind mapping into more into action. And
is that a recent initiative or less than 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think he's kind of stood it up in the last 6 months or so. And so he's got, conversations in weekly meetings and stuff going on where he's convening a pretty interesting group of folks. So,
oh, good. So does do you just go to Jerry's brain and then you find it, or does it require more diving?
Let me send you the invite.
Oh, thanks.
Or connect you with Jerry again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm not sure. Actually, he's put me on the list. It's like another one of these. You get on the Google list and then you see the invites, kind of thing. So
Sure.
I'll connect you.
That's great. Excellent.
And it was fascinating. I didn't realize you were starting to look at forestry too, man. So that's like you got your fingers in lots of pies, but that was really interesting.
Which kind of forestry?
You were talking about Queensland and trying to do.
Oh yeah,
reforestation.
no, the Dane tree. Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, kind of like once if by land and twice if by sea.